Well, it's about the struggles that I have faced every day throughout my life and that I still face today. And I wanted to be open and honest about my struggles, and this was really the only way I knew how to be that. I'm currently on the waiting list for an autism and ADHD assessment so I can get a diagnosis, which is not something that I talk very much about. Unless you're very close to me, then it's probably something I talk about all the time. I really hope that I can help other people to not feel so alone through my music, and help them feel like listening to my music can be a place where they can feel heard and understood in a way that they might not feel in other places. Yeah, so Hopeful Minds is a song that I wrote in 2021, and it was when I was really struggling with my friendships, with my uni experience, and I remember feeling like no matter how hard I worked, no matter how much I tried to be good enough or be right for everyone, I was failing everywhere. So that's how the song came to be. It's the most heavily produced song on the EP, and I'm extremely proud of what I've managed to create. And it's not something that I'm very good at saying, but I am extremely proud of my work. I think it's a song that both lyrically and production-wise really shows how it is for me to be a neurodivergent woman, and how I experience the world. This is especially because of the structure of the song and the production elements, and I'm very structured in the way that I create something. So I'm creative but in a structured way, if that makes sense. Some people would say, oh, it's too tidy or it's too clean, but that's how I like it. And then there's still rawness to the song because of the vulnerability in the lyrics and in the topics that I write about. Day After Day is the second song on the EP, and with Hopeful Minds, it goes into the nitty-gritty of how I experience the world. And this song especially goes into how it is to live with ADHD, where everything is just like a battle of an overactive brain, where emotional dysregulation and rejection sensitivity dysphoria is just roaming around. So one minute you're up and the next minute you're down, and a bit of critique or even perceived criticism is the end of the world. So yeah, that's really what the song is all about. And it's this constant cycle of just feeling everything is just so overwhelming, day after day after day, and you just don't know how to get out of this uncomfortable cycle. And I think it's also asking, is there anyone else who's experiencing this, or is it just me who is like this? Is there something inherently wrong with me? And for so long I think I've seen my ADHD traits as the least attractive or least likable parts of me. And by putting it into words through my music, I think I've managed to look at it from a different perspective and get some empathy for myself and empathize with these traits and how hard it can actually be to live with ADHD. Yeah, so Excuses was a really fun song to write. It was actually written out of frustration after I was on a phone call with my partner, who always has the best intentions, but I had a really hard day with executive dysfunction. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't figure out how to get started on anything. And I was supposed to go into university that day, and I ended up not going because I was just feeling so drained. And I remember him saying, you just have to start and get up, get out of bed, make the bed and just start. And that really frustrated me because I've just heard this so many times, you just need to start, And everyone has the best intentions, and I think it comes from a place of just not understanding that feeling of executive dysfunction where you simply can't. It's there's a wall and you just can't get through it, or you're just stuck and you're physically unable to move. But when he said this, it triggered something within me which motivated me so much that I actually managed to get up and sit down with a pen and paper and just start writing. And this ended up being the whole song. So within 10 to 15 minutes, I had actually written all of the lyrics to the song. I had a rough melody in my head while I was writing, and yeah, I just picked up my guitar and put some chords over it, and then the production went from there, and the song was finished in a day. And the thing I really love about this song is that it's different to the other songs in the sense that it's an A-B-A-B structure instead of having like a verse, a pre-chorus and a chorus. So it's more repetitive in that way, but it still builds throughout the whole song. And all of the A sections consist of like the main story where I'm explaining everything, and then the B sections are these inner voices that have come from like what people have been saying, like it's just excuses, and these have then been internalized and are just growing and growing every time I'm like hearing that it's just excuses. And during the writing process, I was, as I mentioned, still in uni because I should have been in class that day, but the next class, or the next day I had classes, I took it in and I shared it with the group in our creative writing class. And my tutor, he had such a good idea, Shane Beals, of using the Baroque style where once a melody is introduced into a piece, the melody keeps going and it never like leaves the piece again. So I chose to do that with the different melodies of excuses. So once a melody comes in, it never leaves, and then the next one, it just comes on top, or it just adds to that piece, and then at the end it just becomes like one coherent overlap of melodies. And I feel like this worked really well with the whole meaning of the song, so I'm just so happy that I have had people around me who have been able to like help me so much. Yeah, so Emotional is the last song on the EP, and the topic of this song is a little bit different to the other songs in the sense that it's not as much about being neurodivergent, but it's more about body image, and especially body dysmorphia and eating disorders. And it's a very vulnerable song, which makes it really hard to talk about because I find it hard to talk about these topics, which is why I write about them, because I find that a lot easier. And I think a lot of us shy away from these conversations because they make us feel so uncomfortable. But I don't want to be like that. I want to have these hard conversations, because if we don't, then that just makes this shame keep us in this bad cycle. So I want this space to be like an open space, and I want my songs to be a space where people can feel those feelings and think those thoughts and feel safe enough to also express how they are feeling, to share that if they want to. So yeah, that's the EP, and it's all produced and written by me, but the songs Day After Day and Emotional are co-writes in the sense that my partner Joshua, he plays the piano and composed the piano for them, and he also helped me write the iconic riffs in Day After Day. And all my songs are mixed and mastered by Paul Stanborough. But yeah, he was one of my tutors at ICMP, and he is incredibly talented, as with everyone at ICMP. So that's it! The EP is out, don't miss it. Make sure you go to my bio and click the link, and I can't wait for everyone to hear it. Thank you so much for the love.
Human is emotional, doors are closed,